In lesson 1 about playing lead guitar, I've simply talked about the synchronization of your fingers with the plectrum so that you can get your notes to last as long as possible. Instead of or misaligning the finger and the plectrum. Now, a very important aspect of just playing a single note is also to keep the other strings under control. If I was to play this note, which is 5th fret on the 4th string, and I just played that one string, the 3rd string is actually vibrating in sympathy. We don't want that at all. Especially if you've got distortion applied, there's all sorts of little nasties that may indeed occur if you haven't got a really good solid grip on the other strings. So for example, when I'm playing the 4th string 5th fret, my finger is actually slightly flattened so that I'm touching the 5th string, resting on the 3rd, and to a certain extent on the 1st and 2nd strings as well. The 6th string is the only one that's left open at the moment, but that's where my right hand comes in. Even though I'm using the plectrum on the 4th string, I've just got this tiny part of my sort of fleshy part of my thumb here just resting on the 6th string. So that is the only string that is actually vibrating at the moment. If I give you a demo with distortion switched on, here is the 5th fret on the 4th string with the distortion, but I'm not covering any of the other strings. And now with covering. So you can hear that there is a complete difference, a real difference between those two things. Now, also, if I move on to the 1st and 2nd strings, for example, that means that fewer strings are going to be covered here, and we want to therefore move the right hand down slightly so that you've always got your hand just resting on the strings there. There's all sorts of other things, because harmonics on other strings can also vibrate. It's just a bit of a nightmare if you're not careful. So we need to make sure that we've got complete control over those other strings not sounding. If I did that without covering the strings. All sorts of things are ringing there, and we really do not want that. There's also the issue of making sure that you can find whichever string you want with the right hand without actually looking down to find it. Because actually, as I said in the first lesson, you want to be looking at the left hand, because actually that's where all the stuff is. That's where all the different positions, loads and loads of different places to play, whereas we've only got 6 things here. Granted, if you have a plectrum that's doing a downstroke and an upstroke, that kind of maybe counts as 12 separate things, but actually it's still a manageable number to do without looking. What you can also do is to, using the open strings, you can decide, okay, I'm going to play the 6th string, and then find the 1st string. So you can find any string from a particular one that you're on. So it's worth practicing that, because you can overjudge and overshoot things. Same thing happens on piano, where you think, oh, the notes are. Actually, it's very easy to sort of, for hand-eye coordination, to actually throw a big spanner in the works. So we've got all sorts of jumps going on there. So we've got to work out how that's going to function. Now, so far I haven't really talked about any particular scales or anything like that. But if you have a blues in A, what we can do is we can start with the 5th fret on the 4th string, the 7th fret on the 4th string using your annular finger on your left hand. It's very important to use all of your fingers. And then the same again on the 3rd string. So those are notes we've used before in the previous lesson and this one as well. So if we've got a sort of a, I don't know, 12-bar blues, that's what the rhythm guitarist would be doing. And the lead guitar could do something like that. And all the time you're trying to make those notes last as long as possible. Of course, you have the control to make them shorter if you wish. Now, this brings me on to stopping the string. If I've got the plectrum here playing the 5th fret on the 4th string, as long as you keep the finger held down with your left hand, it'll die naturally, but it'll last quite a long time. How do we silence it? Well, there are two methods. Either you actually put your right hand back down, or you release the pressure on your left hand, but leave the string, but you're still touching the string. Or you could do both for ultra safety. So it's a good idea to see how short a note you can play to be able to get that sort of sound. Now, if you lift your hand off the string, you get the open string sound. So it's important to simply release the pressure, release the string from the fret, but you're still holding on to that string. That means that you can get any note of any length. So instead of this, nothing to stop you having. If it needs to be that. So it's just controlling the length of each note. So there we are. It's a bit more about technique there for you.